Royal trip to the Magic Land. A certain king had a daughter, and the king announced that whoever can excel in a number of tests would marry her. A number of youths responded. Among them was Chung. No doubt, he came dressed simply while other candidates wore glittering garments. King was not happy to see Chung. But it so happened that while the other candidates did not succeed in passing all the tests, Chung came out with flying colors. All the opinion that Chung was the best bridegroom. But the king did not agree with the judges. At once the judges were unanimous in the opinion that Chung was the most unfit of all the candidates. Chung was asked to leave the court. What about my marrying the princess? Since I have excelled in all the tests, you wish to marry the princess, eh? Why don't you aspire to marry a fairy? Said the courtiers sarcastically. Chung walked into the nearby forest to hide his face from the neighbors. It was a moonlit night. Suddenly a sweet song greeted him. He looked here and there and saw a damsel standing on a small bridge and singing. Chung gazed at her, speechless, for she was beautiful beyond description. After some time the damsel looked at Chung and smiled. Chung gathered courage and asked, "Are you a fairy?" "I am," replied the damsel. Chung laughed. "Why did you laugh?" asked the fairy. "That will amuse you? A little while ago I was told that I could look forward to marrying a fairy. Of course, those who said so laughed at me." The damsel blushed. That encouraged Chung. "I wonder if a human being, that too a poor young man like me, can ever dream of marrying a fairy. Why not?" croodled the fairy. Chung felt as if his heart would burst with delight. He led the fairy to his home. The priest was woken up from his sleep. So were his friends. Chung and the fairy were married even as the princess was marrying a good-for-nothing nobleman. Next day news reached the king that Chung had indeed married a fairy. There was a great surprise in the court. The king grew eager to see the fairy. He sent a message to Chung saying that Chung was to be made a courtier. Well, to be a courtier was a great honor. One could look forward to regular monthly allowance without doing anything except nodding at whatever the king uttered. But custom demanded that when Chung should go to receive the honor, he should place some valuable gifts before the throne. Go to the seashore. You will find a chest thrown over to the land by the waves. Bring it home, the fairy advised Chung. Chung returned with the box before long. He did not seem very hopeful because the chest was old and damaged. But his wife received it with great care and opened its lid. "Peep in," she said. Peeping into the box, Chung was amazed. He could see a strange land opening up before him, a land with golden towers, wonderful gardens and beautiful lakes. "Go in and pick up something valuable. Nobody would ask for a price," said the fairy. Chung entered the chest and reached the magic land. He roamed about in the fragrant air for long and then returned with a bed. Later, both Chung and his wife entered the chest again and enjoyed delicious dishes in the castle of the magic land and saw many more things. The land abounded in soldiers, but there was no commander over them. Inside the castle there lay a magnificent throne, but there was no king on it. Next day Chung met the king and presented him with the bejeweled turban and became a courtier. "As a special honor to you, we should pay a visit to your house," announced the king. In fact, he desired to meet the fairy about whom he had heard so much in the meanwhile. "You are most welcome, my lord," said Chung. The king had begun marveling the turban. "I wonder where you got such a precious thing," he asked. Chung was not sure if he ought to reveal all about the chest. But he was not in the habit of hiding facts. He gave out the wonders of the chest. The king goggled his eyes. So did his commander and the minister. "We must visit your house forthwith," said the king as he stood up. "Lead us the way." He began walking, followed by 2 officers. On the way, the king thought that since there was no king in the magic land, it would be clever of him to occupy the throne immediately. The commander thought that since there was nobody to command the large number of soldiers loitering about in the magic land, it would be clever of him to take over the command immediately. Next, he could kill the tyrant king then and there and march out of the magic land and occupy the throne here too. The minister thinking any differently, Chung's wife duly received them. The king and his 2 chief officers looked agape at the fairy. But they were most eager to enter the magic land. At their request, the fairy removed the lid of the chest and the wonderful land was unfolded to their eyes. "Please lead us in," the king told Chung and his wife. The couple stepped into the box. The king and his two officers followed the suit. In the charming land, they stood bewildered for a few minutes. But the king spotted the palace soon and rushed into it and occupied the throne. Once he was on that magic throne, he could read the minds of his commander and minister. The two officers were then dreaming of killing him. The king beheaded the officers. No sooner had the king done so, than violent tides as high as hills broke into the city. Everything was getting engulfed by the rapid waves. The fairy dragged Chung by his hand and managed to climb out of the chest. No killing had ever taken place in that city. Now that blood had been shed, the city will cease to exist, she explained to Chung. The king failed to come out. A new king was needed. The people of the land who had earlier witnessed Chung excelling all others in all the tests naturally chose him to succeed to the throne. Thanks for listening. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. See you with another story.